So I just got out of seeing Three from Hell, and this is getting a limited theater release that started today and will be going for the next 2 days. So if you're going to catch this in theaters, you need to get to the theater pretty quick because you've only got tomorrow and the day after that, and then it's gone from theaters, and it won't be until October 15th that it will be hitting Blu-ray here in the United States. So if you're going to get in the theater, hurry it up. All right, so where to begin? All right, I guess where I will begin with this is my anticipation going into it and kind of where I stand on Zombie's career as a whole. Just so you kind of understand where I'm coming from, because my word will mean shit to you otherwise until I say that. So let's see if we're on the same page first. So my anticipation of this movie was low. And the reason it was low is because I have not cared for Rob Zombie's last two efforts in being Lords of Salem and 31. I just thought 31 was all but terrible. Like, I was really surprised at how bad it was, especially as much as he was hyping it up. I thought Lords of Salem was ambitious, but I thought it had just kind of missed the mark, though I will give it another chance eventually. That being said, I liked House of a Thousand Corpses. Like, I was pretty big on it at one point. I didn't start that way, but I gained an appreciation for it through multiple viewings. I still think that it's a little overdone, that it's a little much at times, that it's trying a little too hard, but I still do like the film a good amount. I just did a spoiler discussion about it earlier today, so if you want to know my full thoughts on that, go for it, as well as The Devil's Rejects. Then The Devil's Rejects I thought was just fantastic. It kind of showed us what Zombie was capable of, and I was very, very surprised pleasantly and was looking forward to whatever he did next. Then he got Halloween, which kind of shocked us all. You wouldn't think that he would get a hold of something like that. And he did it, and it was his own. And I liked it. I had my issues, but overall, I now really appreciate it. And then the Halloween 2, a lot of people are haters of this film. I am in the minority. I love H2. Rob Zombie's Halloween H2 is, I think, his best film. So there is where we might already lose each other. This is why I'm saying I need to get this out of the way first. I want to let you guys know where I'm at with Zombie's career. I love Halloween 2. I think it's one of the best slasher films of recent memory. So there you go. If you think my opinion now is shit, that's fine. But, alright, moving on from that. So I didn't like those last two efforts. That's one reason why my anticipation and my expectations for this were fairly low. The next being the limited release and the lack of promotion of this film or a critic screening, any of that kind of stuff. That spells disaster, man. That smells fishy, And the last time that a movie had this kind of stuff about it, being a third film in a trilogy of a popular franchise, was Jeepers Creepers 3. And that's one of my most popular videos I've ever had, so a lot of you know how that all went. And I just thought that was an absolute abomination on this planet. And so yeah, I went into this just like, oh God, please, man. I really like House. I think Devil's Rejects is freaking great. Does this need to happen? Does this movie need to exist? That answer for me is not really. I was underwhelmed with this movie. Now, I refer to movies like this as an IKEA catalog, if you will. Essentially what I mean by that is there are things in there that I would like to pick out and keep. I'll take that, send that to my house. You can keep all the rest. Like, I don't want anything else in this. Thank you. I'm good. I ordered what I wanted out of here. There's a few things in here that I dig. The rest can go. See, where I think I think there's a lot of issues because it's a very cheap looking film. You can tell the budget is just bare bones. The opening 10 minutes were shockingly bad to me. Like, I would never walk out of a movie, that's just not my style. But I was really uncomfortable in that first 10 minutes, just like, what the fuck is going on right now? It just looks dreadful. And it's strung together really poorly, and the performances are super hammy. And while this franchise already has some fairly over-the-top hammy acting at times, I was just surprised at how cheap this movie felt. Just like, especially in that first 10 minutes. Now, if you're a Sid Haig fan, if you're a Captain Spaulding fan, you're going to be extremely disappointed because he's in this movie for maybe a minute or two. I mean, he's not in it, and I need you guys to know that up front. So if anyone's like a big Spaulding fan and they're like excited to see them back together, just know that the third person in the Three from Hell is not Captain Spaulding. It is the actor Richard Brake, who has been in tons of, a few of, should I say, of zombies films. And I'm a big fan of Richard Brake. I've always liked him in everything he does. So when I saw that he was in here, I got it. Because Sid, I saw him recently at Mad Monster Party in Arizona, maybe a few months ago, and he looked horrible, man. He looked really, really unhealthy. He looked like he could barely sit up. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way he could have filmed this. And, they couldn't have expected much from him. So I get this. And here's the thing. This is it. And with that being said, I feel like that this sequel is just way too late. Like, this sequel should have happened a decade ago. If he was going to do this, if he was going to resurrect the Devil's Rejects, if he was going to pull up Otis Driftwood and Baby and Captain Spaulding and these characters, he needed to do it a while ago. Especially when the demand would have been much higher for it than it is now. Like, there's another reason why this is only getting a 3-night thing, because it's been, 14 freaking years since the last one, and he's had a good amount of entries now that a lot of people don't care for. So I get why it got this limited release, and seeing the movie, I get why it got the limited release. I went to the first night screening, as I said, and before, I got there at like 7:01. Like, I knew there was going to be something with Rob before talking about the film and this and that. And so I walked in like 7:01. And I walked in and I saw Rob up on the screen talking. It was like some black and white thing. And he talks for like, 30 more seconds. And he's like, all right, here's Devil's Rejects. Enjoy it. And I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be like a 10, 15 minute thing of him like really discussing. No, it's like that opening bonus thing on a DVD. Like when you press play on the director's intro. And it's like, oh, I really had a lot of fun making this movie. I hope you enjoy it. And then it clicks in, you're like, well, that was fucking pointless. It was like 2 seconds. Like, do I really need that at the front of the DVD every time to prompt me for a 3-second thing with a director or an actress or something? Like, okay, I guess, here we go. And then the movie started, and I was like, oh, no. Now, as far as the performances, here's another thing. I was thinking about this on the drive home. All like 5 minutes ago. I feel like a reason why people will enjoy this more than I did, and why I enjoyed any of this at all, is because I have an attachment to these characters already. Let's say that this was Zombie's first movie. Like, he'd made no other films before this. There was a bunch of hype. And it was Rob Zombie. Oh my God, he's going to put out a movie. We're so excited to check out his work finally. And he put this out, his career would be over instantly. It would have been done. These characters would not have been well received. They would have just been like, okay, I don't really get it. Now, granted, this is the third movie in a trilogy, so we already know these characters by that point. But I feel like one of the only attachments I have to these characters are more because of my attachment to previous installments. Now, that isn't to say that there isn't some good with Otis and Baby and Richard Brake's character as well. But there's a lot of forced dialogue here. There's a lot of scenes that there's a lot of scenes that I was just sitting there like, oh fuck. Oh my god, this is so generic. Like, what is this? And no, don't do that. And it was more ugh moments for me than I don't think I laughed once. I can tell you that. There's a good amount of like attempts at humor in this. There's a scene with a clown, that's all I'm gonna say, that I liked. Overall, man, I can't tell you there's anything in this movie I loved. I can just outright say that. I can't think of a single scene I loved in this movie. Not one. So if that gives you any idea. I know it sounds like I'm saying this movie's just trash all across the board or it's terrible. I don't think that's true. I think that this is just the last bit of Rob's, what he has to offer us. Like, I think this is just like him taking from the well one last time, kind of bringing up a little bit of what's left and kind of just, spreading it out on the screen and seeing what sticks. And it's like, not much. He's just went extremely downhill. And it's a shame. It really is. There will be people who love it. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. No doubt about it. We'll never tell you otherwise. If you think this is a masterpiece, fuck yeah, awesome. Go for it. But I genuinely couldn't take someone seriously if they gave this movie a 10. Like, I don't think I could take someone seriously if they gave it a 1 either. But I think I'd be more willing to accept that than a 10. Because this movie isn't a 10. Like, this movie is below average. It's not terrible, but it's not good, in my opinion. So, that all being said, I know I'm probably disappointing a lot of you, and some of you are big Rob Zombie fans, and you're telling me to go fuck myself, and I don't know what I'm talking about, and that's fine. I mean, that happens when you review certain movies. You have a fan base that's just diehards, and they're just like, fuck this guy. They're already turned this video off by that point. I've dealt with them with all sorts of different franchises. There's those hardcore fan bases, and that's great, man. I really do hope you enjoyed it, but man, this one just didn't work for me. Like, I thought Baby was good. I thought actually she might be my favorite character of this film. There are cringy scenes with her, for sure. There are scenes where things just become uncomfortable because it's awkward that the scene isn't working, that they're going for something and it's just not landing. I mean, my whole theater. I saw this full packed theater, and there's a lot of comedy in the movie. And there were a couple people that were finding certain scenes funny, but like the whole theater, like coming together and laughing, I don't think it happened once. And if it even got close to that, it was maybe like a third of the theater, and it was just kind of like it was very short-lived. And then when it was ended, like when it started, the whole crowd was into it, and they're like, yeah, because Rob's like, enjoy the movie, and there was a bunch of applause throughout the theater. And then for the most part, it was silent, almost through the whole film. And then at the end, one single guy towards the front row clapped, and he was like trying to get people to go with him, and no one joined him. Not one single person in the theater. And I'll tell you this too, the credits were rolling, and so it has those like text credits, then some footage, then text, then footage, then text, then footage, like they do with that. 85%, and me included, got up and left before the scenes in the middle, or it was just kind of like montage, like when Devil's Rejects are doing, and they're like walking arm in arm, and it's all in slow motion. That's another thing. There's a lot of like overblown slow motion in here, and I also think the direction in this movie is really bad. Like the way things are framed, the way action is framed, the ending sequence, it's very lackluster, especially when you're coming on the heels of something like Devil's Rejects, which actually has one of the better endings, the best ending of any of his movies, for sure, but one of the better endings of like horror in the last like 15, 20 years. I think that ending is absolutely amazing. The Freebird ending is incredible. And it was a perfect send-off. It was the end. And that's why I was like, do we really need to continue the story? If it's great, great. Let's do it. But because it's just so mediocre, it's like, oh man, we did not need to visit this again. Is it cool to see Baby? Is it cool to see Otis? Sure, I love Bill Moseley. I think Sherry Moon has brought a lot to the Baby character. I think she's fairly one note as an actress. You know, she kind of has her shtick, and her and Rob have their thing, and that's that. You have your opinions on that, that's fine. But it was sad to see them being put in to a film that I genuinely just don't feel like should have happened. And if it was going to happen right, it should have happened 10 years ago when Sid was young enough to be able to come back and do this right, you know? But it should have ended at Devil's Rejects. I mean, I'm not going to cry about it. It exists. I'm not going to ignore it. It's just didn't work. Anyway, this has run way longer than I wanted it to, but I'm disappointed. But I can't be that disappointed because my expectations were low. I knew what I was getting myself into. If I was excited out of my mind, if I was like stoked and really anticipating this and my hype was high, I would have thought this was horrible. But because my expectations were where they were, I ended up liking, you know, parts of it. So that sounds like a dreadful, dreadful review, but it's what I got, guys. All right. Let me know what you thought if you see it. If you don't go see it off this review, I understand. It will be out in less than a month, so you can wait for it if you want. Let me know, guys. I apologize. I'm not going to apologize, but it's sad. It's a big fucking movie. Like, this is for the horror community. This is a big deal. And it's a shame. I don't want to come back and say this kind of shit. Of course I want to come in here and be like, it was fucking amazing. You're going to be so excited. It blew Devil's Rejects out of the water. You know, that would be hyperbolic probably, but it would be fucking fun to say. I don't have that to say. And it's a shame. It really does. It bums me out. But whatever. I'm not going to fucking cry about it. All right. I'm going to go cry. I'm just kidding. All right. Bye, guys.